First things first, I absolutely love the theme of the Warbond. The reason I say that is because I love crowd control items. And that is what the theme of this Warbond is at the moment, or that is what the devs are trying to turn it into, right? It's all about the stuns and whatnot, and we're going to discuss the stuns and everything here in a second. The pistol idea, by the way, from the Superstore, incredible. One of the most fun items I've used in a while. There's some issues it has. Once again, we're going to break down that as well. So the way I rate these items is how good they are for maximum difficulty if you're trying to get easy clears and easy mission completions in general. But across the board, guys, as long as you guys enjoy the items, just use it, create awesome memories with your friends, get a bunch of kills, whatever it is. I'm just here to talk about the actual performance on the highest difficulty. So let's get right into it. Now, when it comes to the primary weapon, it's sitting at 50 damage. It's medium armor pen, but once again, it's 50 damage. The fire rate is pretty high. It does have a stun. However, the problem with this overall theme right now from the testing is that the stun that is in with this Warbond seems to be very lackluster. So what do I mean by that? So for example, if you take the AR and you're hitting the enemies, right, it's almost like a build-up stun. So a lot of the times you're going to hit an enemy that, you know, for example, the commander, you're going to hit him. But what's happening is that it's not stunning right away. So you're going to need a few shots and then it gets stunned. Now, the second problem is that the stun on its own doesn't last like 2 or 3 seconds, right? It's like a flinch almost, as gamers mentioned in chat, right? So if you think about it from the perspective of actually crowd controlling and stunning, and then you think about the cookout, which is easily an S tier gun, let's say against the bugs or even against the Illuminates, it's actually very, very good due to the fire changes, right? Now, the cookout has stagger. If you really think about it, that stagger and stagger animation overall just is better. Like, it feels better. On top of that, it lasts pretty long as well. And on top of that, you're putting enemies on fire. And on top of that, the ammo economy is pretty good. Now, compared to the ARs, the problem with this one is also that you have the concussive liberator, which is sitting at 65 damage, and it has a drum mag, which is also pretty nice. Am I going to really use this if I want to have a stun build? Not really. Because you have other counterparts, and that's, you know, as I said, we're going to be doing a little bit of a deep dive into that in the upcoming few days. But it's really not really worth using, okay? At the moment, currently on max difficulty, if you're trying to complete stuff, you know, as soon as possible, as fast as possible, as easy as possible. That said, if you just want to have fun and if you like how it looks, go ahead and pick it up, right? Now let's talk about the backpack. So when I first saw this backpack, super excited because obviously you guys know, like arc weapons, like arc thrower, all that kind of stuff. I really enjoy those weapons. They are good crowd control. They deal damage. Blitzer has always been one of my favorite weapons when I'm fighting the, you know, the bugs. Even against the Illuminates, it's actually pretty good, right? I slap on the backpack, and one of the biggest fears I had about this backpack, chat, was the fact of it not having long cooldown between shots. It has around 5 seconds between shots, which in my opinion is too much. It kind of ends up in a slot where it has an identity crisis. So what I mean by that is, let's say I wanted to have incredible crowd control when I'm playing against the Illuminates or the bugs, okay? Let's just say I want crowd control. In that case, shots every 5 seconds while not even having a great stun effect, because that stun, as I said, is a very quick stun. So they'll do like a flinch, they're back in the fight. Meanwhile, the damage isn't also insane, but let's first talk about the crowd control. If I want really good CC, I'm picking up the gas rover. Can literally just crowd control a bunch of enemies, including the chargers. If you have 3-4 chargers, it's gonna confuse all of them. If you have a bunch of, you know, enemies attacking you, it's gonna confuse all of them, right? So in terms of crowd control, gas rover is just on a different level. Also, do keep in mind there's dot damage involved, right? It's essentially dealing gas damage to them as well. And on top of that, if something's sneaking up on you, it gets them very easily. And another bonus thing is that it's way less dangerous for you and your teammates than the new arc backpack. Now, another very important part here is chargers and also hulks. So let's quickly talk about that. For chargers, you're not going to be stunning them or crowd controlling them once again as effectively as the gas rover. So what happens is you need at least 2 shots, sometimes 3 shots, depending on the situation, to actually get that stun, where you again run into the same issue of that stun being more of like a flinch, and then they're attacking you right away. For example, even if you're fighting a Hulk, you're not in danger when you have the gas rover. It confuses them, which then opens up really easy kills as well. You can see, the weak spots easier because they start like turning around and getting all confused. Same goes for the charger. It creates openings for you to destroy that tail very easily with whatever weapon you're running. So yeah, there is that issue. And on top of that, it really wasn't effective against Predator Strain. Another issue that I kind of kept running into was that it was shooting the ground a lot of the times. It could have been that it was kind of hitting dead enemy bodies or whatever, but essentially it would just hit the ground and the shot would go nowhere. Is the idea good? Yes, I love the idea. We've talked about this months ago where we wanted a blister backpack. The problem is, once again, the cooldown between shots. Even if this one, and this is where I think where these items are being tested by whoever it's tested, no disrespect, but I think they need people with a little bit more experience to test these items, because what's happening is, even if this was a, let's say, 3-second cooldown between shots, I personally still think that the gas rover would have more value when it comes to crowd control, right? The thing is, guys, in terms of damage, you have two other rovers, right? Like the Liberator rover and the Laser rover. And I know that, the Laser rover right now overheats. I do believe that's not intended, and that's going to be changed. Does very good clears. Yes, it can kill you too, but so can the arc one. On top of that, it puts big enemies on fire, which means that, for example, if it's non-stop hitting a flash mob, it's putting them on fire, and the fire has been reworked and the tick damage is going to melt them down. It can even hit like chargers in specific spots and put them on fire, which is tick damage. And when it comes to clears, it's not even remotely close. Same for the normal guard dog. When it comes to clears, getting the zombies off of you, the warriors, the smaller enemies, it does a great job. So this is what I mean by it having an identity crisis. There's options on both sides that do what this one is supposed to do, but better. Now, should you use it if you still like it? Absolutely. Use it. Go ahead. Go crazy with it. I think you're going to have a good time and so on. But overall, I don't think that it is in a good spot compared to the other rovers. Just my thoughts. When it comes to the grenade is, it's interesting, I guess. Like, it's good for single target stuns, such as the charger, and it stuns the flash bomb as well. It does not stun the Bile Titans, and it does not close down bug holes, okay? So that is something you need to know about it. On top of that, there is a big problem that it has, in my opinion, which is stun grenades exist. Now, even though stun grenades are not as effective against flash mobs, they can, for example, stun lock chargers. But the difference is that that stun lock also stuns a bunch of enemies around it, right? So do I really need it for me to pick up these grenades and just to stun big targets like that? No. The reason for that is I have a gas grenade or the stun grenade. I can drop the gas grenade and I can get 4 or 5 charges off of me easily. I can get them off of me. Simple as that. The stun, I still think, is the second best when it comes to CC, when it comes to grenades, obviously. That's also in a tough spot. Maybe if it would stun Bile Titans and close down bug holes, maybe in that case it would be cool. But once again, you have thermites. You see a Bile Titan, boom, boom, chug it up. He's done. GG, right? Tough spot for that one as well. It same goes for the bots. Like, you can stun, let's say, a Hulk, okay, or you can just throw a thermite. Thick had a great idea about the grenade. He was saying that, if you chug this and it sticks to something, it should arc also to other enemies as it's pulsing. I think somebody in his chat mentioned that, he said, or it was his personal idea. Anyway, that's a great idea. That could work. That could probably fix it and make it useful, because as it's stuck to a charger, anything that is close to it gets like arced and they're taking damage. I think that would make it more valuable because it would stun a single target, but also arc to others to deal damage, okay? The grenade launcher, I was super excited for this one. It kind of runs into the same issue. Now, we tested it against the Bile Titans. We tested it against the chargers, clearing everything. I feel like there's 2 issues with the weapon. One, for a stratagem grenade launcher, I do think that the stun is once again a little bit too weak. I think the duration has to be longer for the stun because it's a blue stratagem, right? It feels like we actually tested this when we would shoot an enemy with the AR. the stun would last approximately the same as I would hit the enemy with a grenade launcher. So I don't think that's normal. I think that that should be way different. I do believe it's bugged right now because there's a lot of items in the game, me and Thick were talking about this, that deal different kind of damage in different lobbies and also platforms. So solo, you go in, something takes 2 magazines. You go in with a team, it takes 1 magazine. It's really weird. I think it's completely chalked right now when it comes to how damage is distributed within the game. I don't know what's wrong with that. I hope they fix that soon. But grenade launcher also has a little bit of an identity crisis, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's trying to be good at everything, but in reality, it's not that good at anything, okay? Is it fun? Yes. Do I like the animation? Yes. But in terms of performance on max difficulty, is it the greatest? No, there's just way better, way more valuable blue stratagems within the game that you're going to be running and dealing more damage and clearing and whatnot. You know, it's just, unfortunately, that's how it is. The booster is a wild one because what happens is, once again, it's a cool idea. What they should have done probably is on the armor pieces, put some, since it's stun related, they should have put on some stuff that was stun canceling. So for example, if you put on this armor and you drop an EMS, you can just run around. So you can't get stunned essentially by the stun grenades or the EMS or anything. It completely counters that. And on top of that, give it maybe extra petting or something. And I think that would be a more interesting build crafting material. So you would have a full on, I'm gonna go crazy on these stuns. Boom, stun grenades here, grenade launcher there, you know, EMS strike, boom, boom, all of these things. And it doesn't affect me. I think that would be more role play accurate. Okay. I think that would be smarter to do with this specific warbond, but you know, that's not the case. Now, the problem with it is, let's say you call in a railgun, whatever, right? If you're standing in that radius, that will ragdoll you because of the explosion of the stun, and it will also slow you. And the same is, for example, for your teammates or whatever. So if there is a situation where you're out of stims, you're waiting for the, you know, supply pack to drop in and you're rushing it, right? And then it's coming in, you forget it's there or somebody brought it, it's gonna ragdoll you and then it's gonna stun you, which is not good. You're essentially gonna be dead because you're out of stims anyway. So yeah, that is the case with the booster. Not a big fan. They need to increase the radius probably a little bit more, and it should not be stunning Helldivers at all, like in my opinion, to make it more viable. And finally, the one and only pistol. I do think the pistol is the coolest idea in this warbond. I think that it feels very nice, but a little bit clunky. So what I mean by that is, a lot of the times, I think that the best way to use it is the guided way. I really enjoy it personally. I think it locks in pretty good, but sometimes the guided doesn't feel effective. If they're close to medium, or even if they're far, a lot of the times it can like kind of glitch out, doesn't go to them. And on top of that, if they're strafing a little bit, especially if it's shriekers, you're going to be missing even though the gun is locked in. So that's what I don't like. And one of the biggest things is that it does not lock into weak spots of, let's say, chargers, right? Or whatever. So you can't like stick, for example, to specific spots that you want. I wish that was the case. So I wish you could look at an enemy and wherever you're looking at, and if that's when you press, that's when it locks in, it would feel 10 times better and maybe increase the guided effectiveness of it by just a little bit. Just a little bit, it will be perfect. All the rest I like on the gun. I feel like it's one of the coolest ideas they've had. I think that the damage is nice. I like it. It just feels good overall, okay? Let's say you're a new player, returning player. Is this a warbond that I would suggest to you once again if you want to play on the higher difficulties of the game? Because if that's not your goal, you can literally use whatever you want in this game. You can run in butt naked and I don't know, just fist fight every single enemy. You'll still end up finishing the missions, okay? It's not a big deal. But in that case, yeah, you can buy it. Have fun with any warbond, any weapon, any armor, role play, have a blast. That's what it is, right? Like, don't care what Pip says or anybody else. Enjoy the game the way you want. However, if your question is, Pip, I'm trying to get to the higher difficulties. Should I buy this warbond? Will this affect my gameplay in a way that makes the runs easier? The answer is no. You do not need this warbond for that in its current form. I guarantee you this warbond gets buffed probably pretty soon. And then we're going to test everything again and figure it out. As of right now, no. I don't think it's one of those warbonds that is mandatory to have in order to clear the higher difficulties easier. I do think there's some kind of fear within the studio where they don't want to push out something that is powerful. I think that this comes from the fact of, you know, they've done a bunch of nerfs months and months ago back in the day. And I think that because of the backlash that happened back then, they're trying to not put out something so good that then they're going to have to nerf because people will be upset about the nerfs. Okay. So I think the approach has become, let's put out shit, yeah, and then buff it up, which I personally don't agree with. I think that all of this can be avoided. I'm being honest here. This can be avoided by letting some sweaty players test shit. That's all it is. When that happens, a lot of these issues could have been spotted within 10 minutes of gameplay. 10 minutes of gameplay. A lot of very, you know, experienced players could give them feedback. Yeah, this is not good. This is not good. Boom, 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 boom. Fix this. People will be happy. I think this can be avoided. So that's the good side of this. In the future, this is fixable, and this is hopefully not going to happen over and over and over again as it is of right now, because we keep getting warbonds that people just don't enjoy. Chat, what do you think about the warbond 0 to 10 after testing it on max difficulty in terms of performance? Not the drip, just pure performance. What do you guys think about it, chat? 7, 8, 6, 5, 3, 4, 0, 3, 5, 5, 1, 3, 2. Okay, I think it's fair to say that most are below 5. There's a few outliers there, like 8, 6. Mostly it's 5 and below in terms of performance or on a max difficulty. Definitely needs buffs. And yeah, chat, that is my overall thoughts about the warbond. Make sure to let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Love you all. Appreciate you all. As always, stay positive, stay disciplined. I'll see you all on the next one. Okay, chat, that was my outro for the video. Okay. What do you guys think so far, chat?